So, buongiorno a tutti. Welcome to everybody. Yeah. Just a preliminary information before starting with the school. The official languages of the school will be both English and Italian, but we will prefer to use the English language basically for two reasons, just because we have several English-speaking speakers, teachers, and we have also some participants who come from abroad, and I would like to welcome also these people and thanks them for being here. So this is why we will use mainly English as the main language of this school. And so once more, thank you very much to everybody for being here. I would like to provide you with some information and some general brief presentation of this school before starting with the main lecture and officially opening the course. This is the second edition of our school in methodology, ethics, and integrity in biomedical research. First of all, I would like to anticipate now at the beginning of the school what we usually reserve for the end of this kind of initiatives, of activities, that is the acknowledgement to all the people of the organizations and everyone who contributed to organize the school. I think that we are facing a very intense week of lectures or seminars, so I'm quite sure that everyone will be very much involved and possibly enthusiastic about the school, but also that on Friday we will have devoted a lot of effort in this school, so better to say now immediately who we need and why we need to thank for the organization of this course. And first of all, I would like to start from the organizations that provided the patronage to this school. They were chosen when we decided to ask the patronage to such organization. We chose carefully these organizations just because, first of all, I would like to mention the Associazione Dottorandi Italiani, that is the association of PhD students in Italy. It's the main, possibly the only one association which represents at the national level PhD students and also postdoc researchers. It's a kind, possible to say, of syndicate, and we hope that it will be possible on this basis also to start a partnership just for the benefit of young researchers. The second partner that I would like to thank for its patronage is the Segretariato Italiano Studenti di Medicina. It's the main National Association of Medical Students. They are affiliated to the International Federation of Medical Students Associations, which is a worldwide federation which promotes a lot of activities for the benefit of medical students. This organization has a very active section here in Varese, and we have a very good partnership which over the years allowed us to develop a lot of initiatives in terms of training, seminars, workshops, and also internships for medical students also coming from abroad. I think it's an excellent partnership. And later I will also tell you briefly about some projects that we have in collaboration with this organization. And the last one is the No Grazie organization, which we choose since it's a voluntary association, it's possible to say a voluntary network of people working in the health system, physicians, but not only physicians, nurses, psychologists, physiotherapists, pharmacists, any kind of system operators. No grazie means no thanks. The whole name is no thanks, I will pay. This is associated to the international I think, federation of associations, which is named Healthy Skepticism. And in Italy, this association promotes a lot of, I think, very good and useful things in the medical field. That is, for instance, in independent information about therapeutics, pharmacological and non-pharmacological therapeutics, but also evidence-based medicine, and tries also to do research and training to avoid biased information about drugs in particular and therapeutics in general. So just to say that we deem these three partnerships very significant also for this school and in general for this activity. But I would like to acknowledge in particular the European Network for Academic Integrity, which is deny its many things. So first of all, I will tell you that the main aim of this European Network on Academic Integrity is, as you can see, the main aim is to promote in general in the whole academia the integrity in education, in research, in all aspects of academic activity. To promote integrity through training, support to individual academic institutions, doing research on these topics, favoring networking, provide counseling, and a lot of activities. This network was born little bit more than 2 years ago, as thanks to the support of an Erasmus Plus grant from the European Union. So it was a 3-year project. I'm very proud to say that our university was among the partners of this, among the smallest but significant 12 partners of this network, which is coordinated by the University of Brno. But immediately this project gave rise to a formal official association which now puts together nearly 25 academic institutions in Europe and also outside from Europe. The latest university which joined the network is the University of Wollongong in Dubai. The Erasmus Plus project will end at the end of next year, but the ambition of this association is to continue its activity in terms of networking, in terms of promotion of training and research, in terms of preparation, submission, and development of specific research and training projects in the field of academic integrity in all its aspects. And besides the patronage of the European Network on Academic Integrity, we must say thank you very much to this network also because many of the speakers, many of the teachers who you will meet in this school are are active participants into this network or in associated similar networks, either directly or indirectly. So participation into this network was a great opportunity for our university. Concerning the faculty of this school, I would like to tell you a couple of things. So first of all, the school aims to provide you very practical and substantial information, knowledge and training into research methodology and integrity. This is a course from under any point of view, so we will not devote so much time. I would like to say we will devote no time to any kind of ceremony, any kind. We have no academic authorities here, even if we need to acknowledge their support. This is just to say that none of the speakers will be formally introduced, just telling you who they are, what they do, even if all of them, or exactly for the reason that all of them are prominent, usually internationally acknowledged experts in their field. They will provide you with key information, very dense and rich lectures. So I just recommend you that you will read the academic, scientific, and professional profile of each speaker that you will find in the final program of the school that each of you received in the bag of the school, just to understand also which is the general background of the of each speaker. And I also recommend, as far as possible, also to interact, to take the opportunity to interact with each speaker also directly. I mean, not only during the official formal lecture, but also in the breaks of each day, because I mean, this is also an opportunity. The reason why, for instance, we did this effort in bringing here in Varese, in this room, so many prominent experts. This is a very good opportunity for each of us to interact with them, to take advantage and benefit of their experience, to establish also connections that maybe some of you would like to develop in the future for several purposes. We have experts in the several fields of research methodology and integrity. You can see which is the organization of the school in different sections, in different modules. Today, the day is mainly dedicated to integrity of research from several points of view. From tomorrow, we will start on more practical issues dedicated to preclinical research, and then on Wednesday, we will move mainly to clinical research, and then we will dedicate the last days to publications, papers, journals, and the word of the so-called published or perish issue, which is a critical issue for researchers. I also would like to provide you with a few information about you, about yourself. I mean, thank you very much also for all the interest that you showed in this school. We received in total 77 preliminary registrations, most of them from graduated persons already involved in PhD programs or in schools of specialization in the medical field. Most of them, as expected, from our university, but many also from different universities, and I would like to welcome all of you, both the people who come not far from here, but also people who travel very long distance to be here today. And I know that there are two people from Portugal. Thank you very much for being here. And I also welcome one PhD student from India. I'm very happy to have him here today, also because, as I know, he's a PhD student now working with a former postdoc researcher who is now a professor in India, and he's a former postdoc researcher that worked in this university with our group, and we are also proud of this. So in some way, it's like to know some relative, and so we are very happy to have all of you here today. And also, there will be, I think, during the week, a significant number of medical students from this university, from our School of Medicine, and not only from our School of Medicine. We are very happy also about this interest from medical students. They will be not, of course, this course is intended for postgraduates, but many of the lectures can be accessed also by medical students. We are very happy about them, just because also we have some significant projects about the training of medical students in scientific research. I will tell you a couple of things in some minutes about this issue. Just to tell you, also this maybe is part of a few training about let's say, science in general. I would like to be transparent and tell you immediately also a few information about which were the costs of the organization of this course. You can see here a very rough preliminary summary, because of course the true costs we still need to see in detail in the next few days, which will be the actual cost. But I can tell you that more or less the organization of this week took a budget of about 16,000 euros. You can see on the left side of this table, which are the main costs, which are represented by the money that has been given to each of the speakers for each presentation. It's a little bit more than symbolic, of course, because presentations, I mean, it's not only the few hours that are spent in room, but it's about all the work that was needed for the preparation, which in turn is based on all the experience and knowledge of the speakers that you will have in front. So, I mean, if you just divide this about 4,600 euros for the 40 hours of teaching, this is, of course, is rough amount, and you will see that it's not so much, it's just a few. 4,000 for the food. The food is important, food not only for mind but also for body. Due to the limitations in the budget, you will find, I mean, just a few lunch. I hope that it will be enough for everyone, but not, for instance, the coffee break. But don't worry, if you would like to find a few coffee, just you need to pay with your own coin. In the first floor, you will find the machines to get some coffee. Next, there are the expenses for travel and accommodation, and in detail. If you would like to have additional information, of course, we will provide to you. I absolutely think that need always to be very transparent about this kind of issues, and it's also a kind of experience, of knowledge, of information, because maybe in future I'm quite sure that most of you also will face the experience of organizing some seminar, school course, so who knows. But I would like also that you consider that this amount of money does not include a lot of resources that are provided free of any charge, just because we organize this course in the context of a public university. I mean, a public university which is supposed to have in its mission to do teaching, training, to provide knowledge to anyone, to anybody. So, for instance, you will not find the part of you just find a few money for teaching, but not, of course, absolutely not corresponding to the part of salary for all the professors, for all the teachers who take part during this week in the course. You will not find the salary of the officials, the administrative officers who was working to organize the school. You will not find the salary of the technician who will assist us for the whole school. You will not find any voice related to the cost just of this room, of this university, of anything that is supposed to be provided just because it's part of the mission of university. I just would like to emphasize also this aspect, just because I think that it's absolutely a key issue to maintain a public, free academic system that will provide a lot of things, a lot of resources. Even in this case, in this instance, just this very few costs would imply a fee of about at least 200 euros for each participant. Wouldn't it be for the support that we received from this university? So we must acknowledge the support that was provided by the University of Insubria for the organization of this course. And this support came under two different ways. That is, the first one through a contribution from the Insubria International Summer Schools program, which is a program of this university aimed at the support organization of postgraduate schools in any academic, in any scientific field. And the other 50% of the budget was provided by the Scuola di Dottorato of this university. The Scuola di Dottorato is the, let's say, organization, coordination of all the PhD programs. This school was developed as an inter-PhD program activity initiative. So the 3 PhD programs in the biomedical sciences of this university joined, and the School of Doctorate of this university accepted to provide the other 50% of the budget. In this regard, I'm very pleased to acknowledge also the role, the contribution that the rector of this university, actually the former rector of this university, Professor Alberto Cohen-Porisini, who finished his mandate exactly 2 weeks ago at the end of October, the support that he gave to us, because from the administrative procedural point of view, it's possible to say that the organization of this school was very, very, very complicated, and even more. At some time we found so many difficulty in solving some administrative problems that we have also a few doubts that in the end it would be possible to have this school. And the rector, I must say, was always very, very supportive and provided his contribution to solve a lot of bureaucratic problems, besides, of course, seeing with very, very much favor this kind of initiative. So thank you very much to the rector who finished his mandate last month. And also, finally, just to end the acknowledgements, I would also like to tell a few words about the contribution of the video conference system of our university, which assisted us in the preparation of the school and which will provide its assistance throughout the school. I would like to remember to all of us that all the lectures are video recorded, and most of the lectures later at the end of the school you will find them published on a dedicated YouTube channel, where you can also find most of the videos of the previous edition of the school, which was held in this same place 4 years ago. So that's it for the, let's say, presentation of the school. Now I will take just a few additional minutes to introduce more specifically the general topic on the school and in particular the first module of the course, which is dedicated to research integrity. And in this regard, I would like to start from the general definition not only of research integrity but of academic integrity in general, and this definition was elaborated in the context of this European network on academic integrity, and is part of a glossary which the network as part of the Erasmus Plus project already published, by the way, under the guidance of Professor Loretta Tauguiniene, who will provide her lecture this afternoon about social responsibility of scientists and researchers. And according to this definition, academic integrity in general is, you see, compliance with ethical and professional principles, standards, and practices by individuals or institutions in education, research, and scholarship. I would like to underscore compliance with ethical and professional principles. So we are speaking about, this is why also we decided to call this school School on Methodology and Integrity and Ethics in biomedical sciences. Integrity in biomedical sciences has some additional implication, just because biomedical sciences, of course, have to do with specifically with scientific research, and since we are dealing with biomedicine, it's scientific research about in the perspective of health of people and cure of disease. So it's something very, very critical that has to do, besides the general issues of integrity in academia and science, which is common throughout disciplines, with some particular topics, like, for instance, protection of human subjects, or also care of animals that are used for scientific research. The biomedical field is a very specific field, so that there is also the need for some specific systematization of integrity and misconduct issues, and beside what you will learn that are the main research, misconduct, misbehaviors that can affect research, that is fabrication or falsification of data, or plagiarism of ideas, texts, theses, publications. In biomedicine specifically, there is also a lot of different types of possible misbehaviors that I think they must be known and also recognized, just to be able to deal with them, because otherwise most of us still now think that research in general, but in particular in the biomedical field, is just what researchers do. I mean, usually each of us just choose a mentor and then try to become like this mentor. But in several instances, this means also just unconsciously acquiring just not best practices. So we need to have, and this is why the school is intended to provide some basic knowledge about methodology, the best practices in research in the biomedical field. Just because there are a lot of negative consequences of misbehaviors when doing research, scientific research in general, and in the biomedical field in particular, which can be summarized, for instance, now in some main issues that I think will be also analyzed throughout this course, like the possibility to harm individuals and society, providing, for instance, flawed information and data when these data support the use of not safe or not effective therapeutics, but also damage to science itself if some leading scientist or knowledge is based on not sound evidence, the degradation of relations among scientists. So science, it's about networking, it's about collaboration, it's about reciprocal confidence, which can be based only on honest, true, transparent, and once more rigorous and sound methods and attitudes and behaviors. Damage to science itself through also the undermining of public's trust in science, and we will insist in particular on this point. Science must be accountable to society in general and to specific stakeholders in particular, because a lot of people, of course, in particular, expect in particular from the biomedical field results which will directly or maybe also indirectly in the mid-long term benefit the society and also individuals. Another reason to deal about research methodology and integrity is also an emerging issue, which we will learn in the next few minutes. I think, first of all, starting from the main opening lecture of this course, which will be provided by Professor Lex Buter from Amsterdam, that is the so-called reproducibility crisis. It's a debated concept, of course, because not everyone is totally agrees with this definition. But as a matter of fact, in the last few years, it was clear that there were problems in general, and in particular in biomedicine, reproducing, it's possible to say, most of the reported experimental findings, in particular when dealing with some key findings published in major journals, apparently providing leads for the development of innovative therapeutics and something like this. So the reproduction of published scientific results, it's an issue. The explanation of these problems in reproducing some of the main findings reported in the scientific literature is only in part related to misbehavior of scientists, is may possibly for the most part related to non-rigorous methodologies used in scientific research, but is of course another good reason that motivated us to develop this course on integrity and methodology once more in scientific research. Of course, this reproducibility crisis is not only about waste of time and misleading information, it's also about waste of money. There are some studies which try to estimate which is the potential waste of money and in general of resources which are induced by this poor reproducibility, poor strength of published data coming from experimental research, and some estimations provide incredibly high amounts of money, like for instance this paper that I show you in this slide. So I mean, if any one of you would like to see the issue from, let's say, the economistic point of view, which is very popular nowadays, you can also just conclude that it's also a matter of waste of resources, which is a very practical issue. And of course, it's also possibly a menace for public health. This is just one case, but Professor Butter in the second part of this morning will provide just some more practical cases of misbehavior which can affect at any level the career of scientists and have a lot of unintended and sometimes difficult to for consequences which are difficult to identify in advance. That, for instance, this case of the Polderman's affair of this cardiologist, you can find a lot of information online. It's still an open and debated case of misbehavior in clinical trials. It's possible to say of minor misbehaviors, because in the end I will not go in detail, of course, through this case, but it's just possible to say that apparently it was a case of minor misbehavior, because, for instance, the problem was just some loose procedure conducting some clinical trials at the University of Rotterdam, where this cardiologist was working, and after he was fired. But the committee that investigated this case concluded that no patients, am I right? Yeah, Lex? No patient was harmed in the end by this misbehavior conducting clinical trials. But not the allegation, but the discussion was also that this trial provided some results, specifically about the possible use of beta blockers as premedication for people undergoing non-cardiac surgery. This was the issue, which in the end, when these experimental data from these trials were included into some general meta-analysis of the evidence about the use of these drugs as premedications for these people undergoing surgery, provided evidence in favor of the use of these drugs, while if these results which came from flawed trials, so which we could not be confident with, the evidence was against the use of these drugs, because if you use these drugs, apparently the mortality would increase. So this is still a debate, but if we would believe about the fact that using these drugs would increase rather than decrease mortality, but meanwhile the general guidelines in Europe and worldwide decided that it was better to use these drugs, someone estimated that some 100,000 people would have probably died possibly because of these flawed guidelines. So I mean, this is, in my opinion, a prominent example of the consequences that could arise from some apparently not so serious misbehavior in terms of immediate consequences. The last point that I would like to underscore is also the few but significant studies that exist regarding the importance of integrity also in undergraduate medical education. This is a topic in which there is very few. Any medical students in the room? Welcome, thank you very much for being here. Which year are you? Sixth year. Okay, that's good. And just to say that this is an issue which so far has not been so much investigated. There are these 3 or 4 papers in the literature. I think that it would be worthy also to dedicate some attention to this issue. But the few studies that were performed, which of course they are absolutely not, we cannot say that they are representative of some general issue. For instance, there is no information about Italy and about Italian medical students, but the few studies suggest that for a lot of medical students, I mean, some misbehaviors during their studies, for instance, like cheating, plagiarizing, or something like this, it's not seen like a so major misbehavior, and for many of them, it's possible to say that it's also acceptable, at least according to some studies. And the concern is that, of course, I mean, we are speaking in general about university students, but in particular about students who would like later to be engaged in a very sensitive and critical profession from a lot of points of view. As you see, for instance, good medical practice requires that doctors ensure that their behavior always justifies the trust that patients and the public place in the medical profession. There is general agreement that there should be zero tolerance of cheating in a profession based on trust, and one of which human lives depend. It is reasonable to assume that cheaters in medical schools will be more likely than others to continue to act dishonestly with patients, colleagues, insurance, and governments. So, I mean, integrity in general is important in academia. If it's possible to say, maybe it's not possible to say it's even more important, but it's in any case very important, in particular in medicine, in scientific research, like in training. And regarding preliminary evidence of true association between misbehavior in misconducting, cheating, and possible professional misbehavior, I was able to find so far only one study, let's say, field experimental study, which regards not the field of medicine but the field of engineering, but in any case which provides a clear evidence for an association. It was performed in the USA, not in Europe, but it provides a clear, in the field of engineering, but a clear association between misbehavior during an undergraduate activity and then professional misbehavior. So who misbehaves during university is highly likely to misbehave also later. And this is also a table which it's not possible to read. I think it's very small, but I will just tell you a few information from this table. This is taken from one of these 3 or 4 studies which were performed in Europe in medical schools. In particular, this is from a study performed in Croatia. Sorry, this was not in Europe. I think it was in Iran. But showing, it's the only study of this kind, showing a clear association between tendency of undergraduate students to cheat in lessons, in examinations, just helping other students, just plagiarizing or contract cheating, that is asking different people to write, for instance, your dissertation or your final thesis, and later misbehaviors during, after graduations, during training, like during our schools of specialization, I mean, where people are in training in hospitals. And this misbehavior included some behaviors like, for instance, fabricating, that is inventing the whole or part of patient's history. This means falsifying some clinical reports for different reasons, reporting abnormal physical examination findings as normal, again for different reasons, just maybe for complacency to patients, buying or selling hospital shifts, or also in very few, but in some cases, also, for instance, stealing hospital drugs. And this, of course, it's very serious issues for the integrity of medical profession. So for all these reasons, both on the side of scientific research and on the side of medical, biomedical training, not only we feel, but there is a general feeling worldwide, and in particular in Europe, that there is need to develop specific training methodology based on sound research in the field, training methodology, which will provide good competency for people who would like to do scientific research in biomedicine, but also in general for people who would like to be professionists, I mean just traditional physicians, not necessarily directly involved in research, but just using the results of scientific research for their own profession. And this is the last point that I would like to talk about, and this is for this reason that our university developed a project, which is a project that was presented last year in response to a call for application that was published by Fondazione Cariplo, that for those of you who live here in Northern Italy know what I'm speaking about, just calling for the presentation of projects aimed at training physicians in scientific research, either to promote the development of careers in research for physicians, but also to provide physicians, I mean to empower physicians with knowledge about research so that they would be more critical and able to evaluate the evidence upon which they will base their profession, their activity when caring about patients. This is a project that will be brought about in collaboration with the School of Medicine of the University of Piemonte Orientale, the School of Medicine of the University of Porto in Portugal, in the Neurological Institute Mondino as a scientific partner in Pavia, and once more we have the contribution of many people who will be present also in this school, just starting from Professor Lex Bouter, who is in the advisory committee of the project. This project will last 5 years. It has many aims, many purposes. We hope that we will be able to reach the main outcomes that we defined for the project. One of these outcomes is the development of a master course, which in some way should represent the evolution of this school. Now this school is just a 1 week intensive theoretical course, just in in classroom, but the aim will be to develop an 1-year master course for people who would like to have a strong foundation in methodology of research. And this course, we hope that it will be not only theoretical but also practical, offering the possibility to have direct experience in clinics and in laboratories which perform preclinical and clinical sound experimental research. And so it's on this basis that I would like to thank you very much and to declare open this school. And just before inviting Professor Lex Pauter to give the opening lecture of the school, just a few information. There is a change of program for this morning, for this afternoon, for the next days. The program should be that you find in the program of the school, but for this morning, unfortunately, we will not have Professor Laura Ribeiro from Porto. Maybe later it will be possible to provide you with her presentation, but she was not able to take the flight and to come to Varese just in time for personal reasons. So we would. This is another reason to thank even more Professor Lex Pauter, who offered also to provide an additional lecture in the second part of this morning, dealing with some practical cases of misconduct in scientific research, which will represent the basis for further discussion during the school. So once more, many thanks to all of you for the attention and for being here. And I'm very happy and honored to invite Professor Lex Pauter to give the opening lecture of this school.